Okay. How are you ladies doing today?
Great.
Thank you so much for taking my time. No one is above the law. That's what your sign says, and yours says, "Dump Trump, deport Musk, resist the liar in chief." What is it about Trump that you guys find so despicable?
Wow, where to begin? The man cares for no one but himself and lining his own pocket. He gives no concern whatsoever to, for example, do you remember when he was quoted as saying that the best way to deal with immigrants is to separate them from their children?
That's horrible. I've never heard that quote,
And
but
also he said the same thing about terrorists. I know how to deal with them. Separate them from their kids and essentially torture, the kids to get the terrorists to conform. He's a man who has no humanity, and he's a man who never should have been in this position. It's just ridiculous.
it is ridiculous that he is president. I think most reasonable people could agree, but I think there's half of the country, who has some of these racist ideologies. You see some of the xenophobic remarks that they make, and that empowers his base. What do you feel would take for people to realize that he's not qualified to lead? Because I think the first presidency was enough. I think if you really looked at it and paid attention, I think it's kind of mind-boggling that he would win re-election. But here we are.
Well, I think that people are beginning to see that right now. That he was incompetent during his first term. He was totally unqualified to be president. And now in the second term, you can see that he's really not in charge. There are other people in charge. The people who wrote the treatise, the 2025, Project 2025.
Right.
They're the ones who are in charge now. And J.D. Vance is a representative of that. And they're trying to destroy our economy and our democracy. They're trying to dismantle our government. And I think that the people that start protecting their lives, they're finally going to wake up. And I think that, the Wisconsin election, which the Democrats won by, Susan Crawford won by 10 points, is showing that the people are beginning to wake up. Because Wisconsin was always a state that was evenly divided. And to win by 10 points in Wisconsin was quite a statement by the people there. And I think the people are starting to wake up.
Now here's the thing. Donald Trump is like P.T. Barnum personified. Do you know who P.T. Barnum
Yeah,
was?
they use a clown, Ringling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ringling Brothers and Circus, right. If he's nothing, he's a marketer. And he's marketed himself. And other opportunists like Putin and Thiel have identified him as a puppet. And they are the puppeteers. And just as Joni said, and the other billionaires, Musk, who jumped on board. Musk, who jumped on board because he could also see that he could manipulate him. So, he's willing to be manipulated. Just tell him he's a good boy, and that you love everything about him, and then you can manipulate him any way you want to.
I think the biggest problem right now is with the Republican Party, that they have banded behind him and that they're following everything he says. They voted in incompetent people, unqualified incompetent people to be cabinet officers. And they don't care that the government is being dismantled and that he's destroying our economy. The man is mentally deficient, and they know it, and they're not willing to stand up. The question is, why are they so afraid of him? They're just afraid of losing their jobs? What happened to courage? What happened to intelligence? Do they care about this country? I don't think so. I think the Republican Party is destroying itself, and rightfully so at this point if they back somebody like him.
After Cory Booker stood up this week and talked for 25, hours, in front of the Senate, and exposed everything. If anybody would sit and listen to his 25-hour speech, they'd learn a lot. But I think it was the next day, a few Republicans finally stood up and said, tariffs or taxes. It's the first time. They've known all along that tariffs are taxes. The tariffs are going to hurt their constituents, and they finally found a little courage to stand up and say something about it. But, it's not enough. And, we need more courageous Democrats as well in Congress.
Yeah.
Not just the Republicans.
I just pray that the American people wake up and vote them out, as my pin says right here. Vote them out. So
Definitely, we're seeing the stock market down. We're seeing high inflation, the cost of groceries, everything. What are the issues that concern you most?
for me, that he's first of all dismantling our government. Our government provides vital services to the people. He's dismantling it without any regard. I mean, his so-called, Doge or doggy or whatever you want to call it, right? They're not interested in efficiency. They're just interested in getting the federal government so they can lower taxes for billionaires. That's all they're interested in. There are vital services being provided by the government, and they don't care.
And that's not all. The chaos serves them. The chaos breaking everything apart serves this group,
He's also destroying the global economy with these tariffs.
Right.
There's no economist out there who's sane, who believes that these tariffs are going to help anybody.
Right. I think that seems to be his answer for especially the countries that are refusing to accept his legal immigrants that he's deporting. I think he was talking about he was going to impose 25% tariffs at one point against Colombia, which was absurd. He, I think, settled on 10%, which is still pretty high. What are your thoughts about tariffs being his answer to, I guess, discipline these countries for not going along with his agenda?
That's nonsense. All his stuff that he says about tariffs is total nonsense. The vast 99.9% of all economists say it's nonsense, and that he's destroying the global economy. And he's destroying the American economy, too.
His goal is to create a situation where other manufacturing companies and large corporations in the States need to come to him, as well as countries around the world need to come to him to negotiate. And his goal, ultimately, is to have total power for as long as he can possibly have it, not just for his term. And he said it out loud.
Hell no.
He wants to have, it may take another term for me to accomplish my goals, right? But this whole thing is deliberate on his part. And it's a deliberate attempt to break the whole government and how it functions apart so that he has control. And people have to come to him and beg him to make a deal with him, right? Supposedly the king of let's make a deal, right? It's just ridiculous and absurd.
At any rate, the United States is in a lot of trouble.
Right.
And I just hope that people wake up and the Republican Party wakes up. We are not safe right now. We're not safe in terms of our national security, as can be seen by that Signal Gate issue. And we're not safe in terms of our health care. When he appointed somebody who's not mentally sane. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is dismantling the FDA, the CDC. He's dismantling all these agencies that keep us safe.
And what about the Department of Education?
Right, he's getting rid of the Department of Education.
And what about the libraries? He just cut funding to the He's attacking everything that would educate the population about history, about how to fight for their rights, everything that's important.
Anyway, Trump should be in jail. He tried to overthrow this government.
Right.
And the Democrats didn't act fast enough because they believe in the rule of law. They believe in following it. And he doesn't, obviously. And they waited, it just took too long. Justice moves slowly, but it does move.
Most definitely. What would you like to, tell the American people, just any words to encourage them or just to get them to galvanize?
We need to keep resisting and protesting peacefully, and that we need to get the Republican Party to step up to the plate and do the right thing for the American people. The Republican Party are the only people right now who have the power to keep us safe, whether it be militarily or health-wise. They need to step up to the plate and save us. They're the only ones right now.
Well, first and foremost, my opinion is, all American people need to wake up, need not to withdraw in depression and become passive.
Right.
They must activate themselves They must see clearly what he's doing and the impact on their lives. There are plenty of people across this country who depend on Social Security, who depend on Medicare. He is not fulfilling any of his promises to the people that voted for him about handling inflation and all of these critical needs of their lives. They put their trust in him and he has failed them. They need to wake up and see that's happening to them before it's too late. And they do have the power. We are all out here, thousands of us today, and we're all committed to continuing. I'm sure that's true. You cannot lay down and let this happen because it's happening too fast. In the short term that he's been in power, what is it, 50 some days? The short term or 75 days? Look what he's dismantled. He's not going to slow down, and he's got all of the power of those billionaires behind him. It's only the power of the people that are going to stop any of these or activate the Republicans or anyone else. It's the power of the people, and they can empower themselves by linking up with other people who identify the way that we do, who see what's going on, and not be afraid. Step up, contact organizations that are trying to get people together, do everything they can to empower themselves to take a stand and give up the idea that this man is going to help them. He couldn't give a shit about them or anyone else,
That's for sure.
For sure. Thank you.
He
Thank you.
cares about himself.
Thank you so much. We'll leave it like that. I appreciate you ladies taking the time.